I just wanted to share my quick story with everybody. I'd like to start some videos. I've never done anything like this before, but it's summertime. I'm out of school, and I have a lot going on family-wise and in my personal life because my family now knows that I'm an atheist, not because I told them. My brother found out because of Facebook pages that I did not know they had an activity log and you could see. Um, so everything just kind of went downhill from there. That was about a year ago, and my family refuses to accept this. It's caused a lot of trouble in my family, and I haven't seen too many female videos online about what happened to them when they came out as an atheist to their family. Um, I've seen a lot of videos, but not too many follow-ups on how things were going afterwards, after they came out. Maybe I just didn't look in the right place, but I wanted to share my story with everybody. And in a way, it's me venting. It's like, I guess, a little bit of therapy for me because I feel like I have nobody to talk to about this. I feel like a lot of people just don't really care. They just believe it, and that's enough for them. You know, it makes them feel warm and fuzzy inside, and they don't want to step outside of their comfort zone. So I feel like I've stepped out of my comfort zone, and you know, there's no turning back. You know, once I've found out the things I found out, I can't just go back to the way I was before. So let me start off with my story. I grew up in a very strict fundamentalist Christian home. We grew up going to, churches where we, spoke in tongues. We got anointed in the Holy Spirit. People were prophesying in church. My parents were so strict that I couldn't even have Catholic friends because they prayed to Mary, and that was a no. No, you can't pray to Mary, or you can't say repetitive prayers either. That was a bad thing. So let's see. My first time really questioning things, I went to lunch with my father one time and asked him what happens to all the people that don't accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, and he basically said that they all go to hell, all of them. And I just got angry. That's not right. That's not fair. And it did cause an argument between us. But I always kind of question things. I have an older brother and an older sister, and they didn't seem to really question it like I did. I don't know. Maybe it's just inbred in me to be more inquisitive. I don't know. But anyway, that was my first time really questioning things. And the second time was not that long ago. I did get through a rebellious stage growing up. Like I said, I'm 30 years old. My early 20s, I was kind of the black sheep. But I always believed. I always truly believed that God heard my prayers. I always felt guilty and dirty for all the bad things that I did, even though I did bad things and partied and all that. I still believed in God, and it was a genuine belief. I always thought, I'm going to make it right. I'm going to make it right. And I did periodically. I would make things right and come back to God, and it never stuck with me. It never stayed. My brother and sister, they never seemed to go through anything like that. They might have had a little bit of a rebellious period, but they always were like this with God. They talked to God a lot, and God apparently talked to them a lot. And my parents too. But I never seemed to hear from him except for little hints of things here and there, like I love you in my ear, or shouldn't do that. But now I think that's probably my conscience telling me, this could have bad consequences, or this might make things right with someone. I think our conscience is constantly talks to us. Anyway, the next thing that happened was a couple of years ago. Um, I watched this documentary, and don't worry, I'm not going to get too far off topic with this. It was called Food Inc. It's a great documentary. If anybody gets a chance to see it, it's on Netflix. It has nothing to do with atheism or non-belief in God. It just showed where our food comes from, pretty much. And I love animals. I have 2 pugs, George and Henry. Those are my loves. I love them so much, like they're my kids. But I've always loved animals. And seeing what happened to these cows and pigs, and just the general everyday practices, and learning just how many are sacrificed for us to eat them, and the cruel way in which they're raised and killed just so we can eat them. It just made me question things like that. It made me sick to my stomach seeing that, and I haven't touched pork or beef since then. Not once. I might have eaten chicken a few times, or turkey, but it totally just disgusted me, and I wanted no part of that. But it made me think of evil. That's what really started making me think of evil, and why would God allow this, so much suffering? And then I thought, I really was interested in the Holocaust, even in high school. That was always in the back of my mind too. Like, why would God allow something like that? That really got to me. And then this Food Inc. really got to me. It just, why I cried and just begged God to just explain to me why. I would pray every night that these animals wouldn't feel pain. For a good amount of last year, I prayed that, God, please, the animals that are going to be slaughtered today, just help them not to feel any pain. That's how much I was worried about it. But I never thought, well, why would he? I mean, I did think of why he would allow it, but I didn't go really deep into thinking about it. Well, another documentary that I came across about a year ago was one called The Nature of Existence. And it's supposed to be on Netflix, but I just checked and it wasn't there last time I checked. But it was a great documentary. It took the director 4 years to make the documentary. He goes around and talks to, every religion you can think of, and it took him 4 years. That's so long. All the different religions, and he just asked them basic questions. Why do we exist? What is your purpose in life? What God are we supposed to worship? How are we supposed to live our life? And every single religion had a completely different answer. And they believed it from the bottom of their heart. They believed it without a doubt that their way was the right way. And that really got me thinking, like, there's no way Yahweh is the one God that just so happens to exist, the one that I just so happen to be raised to believe. It felt almost silly to believe that. But anyway, I still believe, but I just thought, you know what, there's just one God, and he loves everybody, and there's no place called hell. I looked into a lot of stories about hell. I was always so terrified that I was going to go to hell, that I read a book called 23 Minutes in Hell by Bill Wise. That just seems silly to me. And a lot of the stories online I've watched or read, and they all are very different, and some are very, very silly, to be honest. But I still was kind of scared of going to hell. But anyway, let me see, where was that? So after watching The Nature of Existence, and the Food Inc., Those two really got me questioning things. Okay, and then I thought, it's not the Christian God. There's just one God. Blah blah blah. Sorry about that. Um, and I started going to the singles Bible study because somebody told me about it, and I was really depressed at the time. This is about a year ago. So I started going to this singles Bible study, and the first night that I went there, um, I had a prayer partner or a accountability partner, and after the Bible study, she says, "Oh, honey, you just look like you've been through so much and you're just struggling with your relationship with God. He wants me to tell you that He loves you and He wants you to come back to Him." And that really, like, got to me. Like, I got goosebumps and very emotional. I started crying, and it kind of reconfirmed things for me again, I guess you could say. And she kind of reminded me how the devil, doesn't want us to know that he exists. That's his greatest trick, apparently. How convenient. But the devil's, out to get me and ruin my life, and he's trying to deceive me with, different things that I've seen or heard. Anyway, uh, that night at the Bible study, she told me about the Holy Bible app for your phone. And I love that because I love audiobooks. And I thought, well, this would be great, And when I got home, I said, you know what? I'm making a commitment. I'm going to read the Bible from start to finish. And I am going to really read it for the first time instead of just picking out Psalms and, all the pretty poetic verses. I'm 30 years old. I'm a big girl now. I need to just read the whole thing. And that's when everything just went. uh, the slaves in Leviticus, the Baal and his donkey. Um, it just seemed silly. It seems silly, and it seems sickening too. God, like the aroma of the blood from the sacrificed animals, that really disturbed me. And the Passover, him hardening the Pharaoh's heart. I mean, I was really reading it. I really wanted to get to know this God that I had forgotten about and neglected and almost stopped believing in. And I was really reading it, and I was confused, very confused. And then I kept saying, well, maybe once I get to the New Testament, it'll get better, And as I kept going further and further into the Old Testament, there's verses like, happy are those who dash their babies against the rocks. Don't leave anything left alive. Kill everything that breathes. Even plunge your swords into the beating hearts of babies. It made me sick, and I'm actually still reading, and I'm in Galatians right now in the New Testament, and it's a lot different than the Old Testament, but I'm just not buying it. If Jesus is part of this Trinity, and they were all one, then you have to get to know the God that He's a part of the Trinity with, right? But before I rant on and on, I just wanted to give that little bit of a Max story. That's pretty much how I ended up where I'm at now, not believing. The one thing that caused me to stray away from it and not believe it anymore is the source itself, the actual Bible. And my family has a very hard time believing that. I've repeated that several times, and they just can't accept that. They think that I hate God, that I'm just rebelling against God, and I'm sure you people out there can relate. If y'all can, just leave your comments or advice for me things I could have did differently, or maybe share some of your stories.